Welcome back to Corner Talk Boxing. Tonight we're going to be breaking down Diego Pacheco's latest performance against Kevin Sadjo. We're going to touch on the buzz around the Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fight. So let's get right into it. Let's start by breaking down Diego Pacheco's performance. I believe he showed poise, patience, and maturity in this fight, which is something we all want to see from these young fighters, right? He established the jab early. He controlled the distance. He opened up with a lot of clean combinations. I like that. In his last fight, we saw him. We're constantly seeing him improve, right? He retained his WBO International Super Middleweight title, and he captured the silver. So, despite being knocked down, I think it was a good performance for him. The key improvements I saw that he can possibly make, and I'm no boxer, right? So I'm only going by what I've seen. He can have some better pacing, better shot selection, and be a little more disciplined defensively. He shouldn't have been knocked out in the 8th round the way he did. But confidence grows with each fight. So we'll probably see him do better next time. One of the things that I saw from him was he was pretty predictable during the fight. I think he's still learning how to maneuver or manage fights as they go the distance. But again, that goes back to confidence, and he'll get some more with with each new fight. I'm sorry. Being in the super middleweight division, it's pretty big boys in there. He's gonna have to step it up a little bit to be there with the top contenders, especially if he tries to pick a fight with Canelos of the world, Terrence Crawfords, people like that. Let's talk a little bit about Sadjo, though. Sadjo really brought the fight to Pacheco, right? He was tough, he was aggressive. He's a high pressure fighter, so I wasn't impressed by that. It was more of I knew that's the way he was going to come into the fight. He knew that Pacheco was most likely going to be the favorite, so he wanted to make sure he got off his shots, and he forced Pacheco to stay sharp. I mean, being tough, he's a durable fighter. He's consistently coming forward. He has a lot of movement. He made Pacheco think. He adjusted. He stayed disciplined even after knocking Pacheco down in the 8th round, which I thought he was just going to jump all over him. But he was never intimidated by the moment. He did good. He deserves another fight, another big money fight, and see where he goes from there. I really like to see where it goes from here for him, because this is the type of fights that builds champions, right? This is the type of fight that makes fighters a little more valuable and makes fighters want to continue, makes them want to go after the bigger fights and the bigger purses. So we'll see. I think they still need to be a little more polished, both of them, especially if they're going to be world champions and competing at world championship levels. Okay, let's do a quick breakdown let's touch on the Anthony Joshua and the Jake Paul fight. I don't think this is a good fight for either one of them. I think if Anthony Joshua gets knocked out, this is the end for him. We've seen him knocked out by a few fighters already. And we've seen Jake Paul take one loss to a much smaller guy. But if we go back and see the losses from Anthony Joshua, his loss against Ruiz and his loss against Usyk, they were both smaller than him. Anthony Joshua is a very big guy, but got knocked down by two smaller guys, even though they're really strong smaller guys. And these are not tiny guys. I mean, these guys are 6 feet tall, so it's not like they're 5'11" or something like that, right? This is a wild matchup. It's a wild matchup because I don't think that Jake Paul is at the championship level, especially not to fight somebody like Anthony Joshua. Whether people love it or hate it, though, it's generating a lot of interest, right? It's generating a lot of buzz, and it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be a big event. It's going to be a lot of people there, and it's probably going to do really good numbers, even though I think it's on Netflix. So here's my breakdown. For Jake Paul, he's been improving We've seen him get a little bit better, a little bit stronger in each fight, a little more disciplined, and we can tell that he's been taking boxing very serious, right? However, his fight against Tyson was it was not what it was hyped up to be. He's fighting a real boxer this time, so we have to give him credit for that. Especially fighting a fighter who's practically still in his peak, right? For Anthony Joshua, I think there is such a size advantage that I want to believe that he's not taking this lightly and seeing Jake Paul as just a YouTube boxer. I want him to see him more of a legitimate fighter, right? So the experience gap between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua is tremendous, right? You got one fighter who is or has been on the championship levels many times in many years, dominant performances against elite world champions. And the size difference is just, whoa, I think he's like a whole foot taller than him or something like that. But we'll see what happens in that fight. I think the path to victory I see on both ends, if it's for Joshua, I believe if he keeps it simple, keeps it tight, and uses fundamentals, pivots, uses movement, becomes the aggressor, he'll be able to beat Jake Paul. But I think if Jake Paul creates chaos, gets momentum going, catches Joshua with a good hit, I think his confidence will grow and he will definitely have an advantage. Jake Paul needs to force Joshua to make some mistakes, right? He needs to force him to get wild in there, and he needs to force him to be more careless. And I think Jake Paul can most likely capitalize on that. But the real story is what's at stake for both of these fighters? It's more than just money, right? For Jake Paul, this is more of a coming out moment. Like, hey, I actually beat a heavyweight champion. I actually beat somebody who's bigger than me. I actually beat somebody who's in their prime. It also makes you question, did he bite more than he can chew, right? Jake Paul is coming into this fight little experience, especially on the heavyweight side. I know Jake Paul is not a small guy by any means. However, I don't think Jake Paul's ever really been hit by a true heavyweight. And Anthony Joshua may have that knockout power. I do believe that Jake Paul believes he has the power to knock out Anthony Joshua. I guess we're going to find out. I think here's something I want to bring up. Does AJ have more to lose than he realizes? I think he does. I think if he loses this fight, this will be as close to the end as he can get before retiring. And let me explain what I mean by that. I think that losing to Jake Paul would skyrocket Jake Paul in the rankings and everything in boxing. However, for Anthony Joshua, losing to Jake Paul, that's pretty much the end. That's pretty much the lowest you can get in boxing. And I'm saying that just because Jake Paul is not an experienced fighter. He's not a fighter that has fought in the heavyweight division or has fought heavyweights. So I hope Anthony Joshua realizes that it's more than just the money that's at stake. It's more than legacy. It's more of I really hope that he can get through this for his sake more than anything. And that's it. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this show. More fight talk coming every week. This is Corner Talk Boxing. Appreciate you for listening.